All right. The Sydney CBD or CBDs of the world, we've been poo-pooing a little bit the last 2 years. They may be hotter than you think and more resilient than you think. Stay tuned.
Good morning, Mr. Novak.
Happy Easter, everyone. Happy Easter.
Wow.
What
Easter.
4 days.
Unbelievable. Love it.
Oh,
and you asked me off air, did you eat a lot? And sadly, no. Haven't eaten that much, and you either, from the sounds of it.
Nah, not really. I've got a family in lockup, so I was out of lockup, but
Yep.
I was forced to do a lot of Netflix binging, watching SWAT, watching Road Truckers, watching Demolition Man.
Oh wow!
And Heavy Duty, which was towing truck company in America. Binge back to back to back to back. Lazy.
Yeah. Laziness. I love it. Well, you know what? Sometimes that's what the holiday break's all about, just being a little bit lazy. Do you like where I am right now? I'm actually at Circular Quay. I hope you don't mind. I hope you're all right with me being away from the office. Now, the reason for the background image, the reason what we're going to talk about here today, I had a lovely stroll through our lovely city yesterday, more importantly, Circular Quay Promenade, and it's as gorgeous as ever. It doesn't matter what anyone's thinking or saying right now, thinking, oh, of course, the Sydney CBD is dead, there's nothing going on. It's quite the contrary. You go for a beautiful day like a sunny Friday, which we were so blessed with, and you can see that things are still very much alive. They're very much pumping, but it's not to say that there's not the odd sales sign or lease sign around. But my goodness me, I'd love to deep dive with you today about some of what's going on there, believe it or not.
There's some big numbers being thrown around, and just when we thought that it's never going to come back, it can't come back. Good morning, Lisa Novak.
Lisa, she's there. She's up. Definitely, Sydney kicking goals.
Just when you think it's being beaten around a little bit, you've been noticing there's a bit of a trend lately there.
Absolutely. I did a little bit of research. I did a little bit of marking around as far as, all right, so for everyone, Circular Quay Promenade, 1A Macquarie Street is the legal address for it. Now, in that precinct there, we're talking about a total of 18 shops, 10 of which are approved for food and beverage. Now, one of the highlights for me that actually just rocked me to my core was a small gelato shop that sold last year. It was about 43 meters square, so not very big at all. You'd say a very, very modest size, and it's shaped just like a square, really. Now, I'm going to break down the facts, and probably some of you are going to be like, huh, what does that mean? And we'll kind of dissect it from there. Now, this small shop sold for 5.7 million. 5.7 million. Now, 43 square meters, prime real estate, foot traffic for absolute days. This equates to about $135,000 a square meter. Now, for people watching, what does this mean? What do you think it means?
Can I quantify it first, size and where it is and stuff? So if you're coming in on a ferry, it's on your left when you're coming in on a ferry. That little strip there, 44 meters squared. Kind of quantify that. A garage is, say, 15 meters squared, so it's almost like 3 single garages. But bear in mind, with food and beverage, you often lose half to the kitchen, or a third kitchen, and a third to serve, and a third the seating. So, that's not a big shop for food and bev because you lose a lot of it. So it's a little fella.
It's a little fun.
Yeah. So what do you reckon?
Look, I reckon, and this is the interesting thing, what you're going to find with something like this. You're probably not going to get your average Joe local coming in and wanting to grab this off the market, this absolute gem of an opportunity. You're definitely going to get some foreign interest, and that's definitely what happened. I think it was marketed for about 2 to 3 weeks. Colliers and Plus Agency that were involved, massive, deserves an incredible round of applause. Generated over 150 inquiries. I think with something like this, it's not even so much the price. It's your location is everything, and this is what they look for in something like this. It's just this is what they hone in on. No one will ever miss a beat. No one will ever not be able to see you in a site like this. But that was last year's sale November mark. There's one that actually surpassed it this year, and I'm interested in sharing it with you.
It's trending. It's trending. And you know what else? What's really interesting here? It's interesting that, and I think everyone can relate to this on a micro, macro, whatever level you want to be on. I think the principles are the same. So you may find that you go, look, that doesn't really matter to me in Manly, or that doesn't really matter to me in Narrabeen, but it does. When you understand these principles or how this is trending and why this is trending, you can actually blueprint it across all real estate, commercial, and sometimes, most of the time, residential. So trend is what I'm really interested in digging at, because everyone's saying, screw the CBD, we don't need the CBD anymore when it comes to business, and it was serving the business community 5 days a week, and it was serving a nightlife, probably Thursday, Friday nights was a big nightlife in the city. So that's what it was doing for us. Is it still going to do that in the future? And I think that is going to answer how real estate's going to go in there.
Definitely. It's interesting though. I almost feel like with the pandemic, it almost catapulted the drive or the interest so many people had. I think people have started to slowly but surely more or less overlook certain areas or certain parts of the city, and then when you weren't able to go, then you weren't able to enjoy it as much as you were before, and all of a sudden that you are, it's that the interest has just boomed all over again. It's like a second life or second win, really. But one sale that actually definitely caught my attention as of recent, and we all know the Belgium chocolate shop that's there, Gillian. They've been tenants there for approximately 14 to 15 years on a net rental. So, we're subtracting the outgoings here, the additional costs outside of your rental payment. It's about $550,000 a year, which are figures that are astronomical to someone like myself in the commercial industry, but it's still great to know about. That there is 75 square meters. So it's a little bit bigger than the gelato shop we just mentioned. And this, of course, is excluding the outdoor area that's available as part of the shop. That sold for $11.5 million. And that's taken the record thus far.
Unbelievable. So what was that returning?
Return 550,000 a year. So believe it or not, so that the yield in itself's not hitting that 5% just yet. If we're looking at a net rental, okay, we're just under that 5%, which is a lot of what investors look for. That's the real figure that they want to hone in on before making a real serious commitment. But it doesn't even fall so much on the yield. It's the quality of your tenant. It's the quality of the premises. It's the quality of the location. These are just such such serious factors and variables that make up the purchase. But that for me was just like, wow. And I think as well, it was a wow factor for me because, before entering into commercial real estate, I'd walk by the promenade, I'd walk by different shops throughout the CBD, and you don't really stop to think. You don't really stop to hone in on what's actually going on behind the scenes. And these are just some serious figures.
If you think about it, 75 metre squared, $11 million for one of those little shops on that little promenade. Now, what's going through the person's head that's buying it? What's going through the person's head that is renting it? I guess if you've ever been to that chocolate shop, they know how to charge.
Yeah, definitely. Especially on a public holiday. Nathan could be a news anchor. Oh, thanks, Lisa. I love that. It's the glasses today. It's a game changer, I think.
And construction wouldn't be happening if there was no need for it. And with all the cranes that are there, it's so true. It's so true. But yeah, what is going through people's heads that are splashing the cash for that sort of investment property and those sort of tenants? You're right with the tenants. They must be getting the numbers. That is the only reason that you would pay that sort of money, is if you're getting the numbers as a tenant, if it stacks up. So I guess, you know what? Why did you go there yesterday?
What? Look, you know what? It's one of the places that was not so accessible earlier on, like, a couple months back or so. There was still the fear, the scare of the pandemic, everything. And then sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and say, no, I want to go enjoy the city. I want to go for a look around. And you do. And you've got to really appreciate the environment. You've got to appreciate the day. You're not, I wouldn't say that you're honing so much on the quality of what you're eating. It's the experience.
And I think we had last Saturday, we were saying, a couple of Saturdays, we were saying it's not about space, it's about place. And which anchors what you're saying, which anchors what you're saying about the experience. So I think that the reason why the tenant is there is because there's a bucket load of people. The reason why there's a bucket load of people is they're all seeking that experience, like you did on a weekend. They're out there, and it's probably the most beautiful place to walk in Sydney. Without COVID or with COVID, I think it's created magic through generations, memories through generations, history through generations, and it's pretty hard to abandon that. So I think that, even though we've had the awful COVID, morning, Jeff, capital growth position, absolutely. I think that because we've had those experiences of that, you still seek them out. So it didn't die in you, that yearning or that need to go and see something nice in our city. And I think that's why it's a shitload of people going through there. That's why the tenant can pay a shitload of rent for that. And then I think the person who has bought that has also is sharing that same common sense vision for that type of asset class, thinking, mate, how can you go wrong here? There's always going to be people seeking this experience. So, it's easy in the short term for everyone to think, no, Circular Quays city's not going to come back. The Circular Quays has shit the bed. It's not going to happen. But there's proof in the pudding that it's rocking on.
There's definitely proof in the pudding. And with the last one that I'll bring up before we can wrap things up, and we've spoken about, so a 43 square metre shop, on average the size of about 3 single garages. The next one was the Belgium chocolate shop at about 75 square metres, which sold. There is one for auction. And this is literally the moment you're walking from the Opera House down the promenade, first on your left is a small gelato shop, 16 metre square. So this one is a single garage. Tiny little fella, auction guide, 3.
Where is it, bro?
So when you're walking from the Opera House and you're going down to the promenade, it is literally one of the first on your left, 16 square metre little shop, gelato, tiny little gelato shop, auction guide, 3 million. Should this sell at that predicted price range or even higher, we're talking an astronomical record price per square metre coming up to 190,000. So stay tuned for that one, because that's love to see what the outcome is with that. But these are the things that keep you thinking, keep you wondering.
It does, and it's and I think it's a testament to, it's not just the CBD of Sydney that we can refer to in this. It's all CBDs. It can even be country CBDs, metro CBDs, all types of CBDs. People still go in there for an experience, and it goes back to the good old fashioned. People for the last 2 years haven't wanted to cluster, but for people for thousands of years have clustered. They do that. They do cluster towards CBDs to each other. People love people. So even though everyone's felt really liberated with Zoom and staying home or to work, I think that there is still that age-old yearning and necessity for people to go in to a city and get together. I don't think it's going to be how it was. I don't think how it's going to that's going to be different. I think that typical way that we used to go to work, the typical hours, I think that's all blowing up. But I think that necessity for people to get together is still very clear, still very apparent. I was reading something. I was reading something on the CBD that was saying that Wednesdays and Thursdays are the busiest days in the CBD for city workers. I was going to say factory workers, the city workers, and they really want to make sure that their colleagues are in on the same day. So it's that togetherness.
Definitely, it'll never die. It's what we do as human beings. It's a beautiful thing, and may we continue to do that.
Absolutely. Toast, best building in the world. What a building. That's pretty much what you're talking about, is the commercial underneath the toaster. So, yeah.
So that's it. That's the one. I love it.
That's the one. Mate, have a great day. Happy Easter, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for joining in, everybody. Enjoy, Mark. I'll be talking to you.
Take care. See you, mate. Bye.